now available in paperback and ebook. The Man Who Rules the World. John Hayes must bring together men and gods to overcome a threat that seeks to destroy the planet. The Man Who Rules the World. Now available in paperback and e-readers everywhere. I was reading a report on Bleeding Cool yesterday which stated that Black Panther writer Ta-Neshi is being considered by Marvel Editorial to write Captain America. And if this is true, then Axel Alonso and the editors at Marvel Comics, they all need to be fired. And the reason why they need to be fired is because you don't take a writer who is struggling on a B-list character and then give them one of your flagship characters. That's a completely ridiculous decision from a business perspective, a creative perspective, and an editorial perspective. When it comes down to Ta-Neshi Coates, or as I like to call him, Ta-Negro Coates, he has not proven that he is ready to write one of Marvel's flagship characters like Captain America. Now, Captain America in the Marvel hierarchy is one of the top characters in the brand. Next to Spider-Man and the Hulk, he is the most recognized character in the Marvel brand, and you just don't want to put any person on that character, especially after the damage that was done by Nick Spencer with this Secret Empire storyline, where the Captain America character's history has been retconned in a dysfunctional way to present him as an agent of Hydra and a Nazi. If you want to try to redeem this character and make the character relatable to readers again, you would go out here and get a qualified writer, someone with a skill set that would pretty much get the character back on track, and that's not Ta-Neshi Coates based on his run on Black Panther. If you look at Ta-Neshi Coates' run on Black Panther, it's clear that he's not qualified to even write Black Panther, that he's way out of his depth, and his skill set as a comic book writer is not at the point where he's ready to take on an A-list character like Captain America, because when it comes down to his writing style, he's more of a teller and not a shower. And when you have A-list characters like Captain America, you need a writer who can show and tell a story with pictures. And Ta-Neshi Coates' craft is not at a point where it's ready for him to take on A-list characters. He can't handle a B-list character, but they're considering him to write an A-list character. And his whole frame of reference doesn't even go deep enough into the character's history. When I looked at Ta-Neshi Coates' statements on Twitter, he says that things like the Brubaker and Epting run is where he would start, but that's not enough. I mean, the Brubaker and Epting run was a very great run, but if you want to write Captain America to the point where you want readers to relate to him again, you've got to dig a lot deeper than Brubaker and Epting. You're going to have to go dig deep into the era of Lee and Kirby back in the late 60s, early 70s, and you're really going to have to read the Grunwald run that was a part of the 1980s. That's going to really give you a sense of who Captain America is, what his mission is, what he's about, his supporting cast, his rogues gallery, and it's going to give you a frame of reference for the character. And as a writer myself, I would dig even deeper than that and go more towards some of these other runs, such as the Byrne run, that as short as it was with Roger Stern, and dig deep into the other runs, such as the Buscema run that ran in the late 70s. You really have to dig deep into this character's history, dig deep into this character's background, and really get a sense of what the Captain America character is about, his mission, his voice, and that's something your Ta-Neshi Coates is not thinking about as relating to writing this character. Like your Brian Michael Bendis, he's pretty much putting his own take on the character, and again, that has to do with editorial, not checking many of these writers and letting them understand that this is a commercial character, and when you write in a commercial medium, you have to write what fits the character, and you have to make the character first, and your agenda is not important. What's important is presenting this character as the hero that they are, and presenting them taking on their rogues galleries, and in between the pages of that, you can pretty much try to make a commentary if you want to make a commentary about things, but it has to fit within the aspects of the commercial product. And that's something your Ta-Neshi Coates has proven that he can't do based on his run on Black Panther, because with Black Panther, he did not go out of his way to focus on what makes Black Panther great. He didn't focus on Black Panther's mission. He didn't focus on what makes Black Panther a strong character. In fact, he pretty much took the Black Panther character and put him in the background of his own book while he went on his expositional stories where he made Wakanda into another African country instead of the advanced technological civilization that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby designed it to be. He pretty much tried to project the realities of modern day Africa into this fantasy realm, and that's why his run was so critically panned by veteran Black Panther readers and many comic book critics. They pretty much did not see Black Panther in his own book. And many of his Black Panther spin-off books, like the one written by his friend Roxane Gay and the Black Panther and the Crew, those books are dying as we speak. So your Ta-Negro Coates has not proven that he is ready to take on an A-list character. He's still struggling with a B-list character, and he can't really create a definitive run for that character. He's only gone 15 issues, and that's not enough time to show people that he is ready to take on an A-list character. This is a clear case of affirmative action promotion, just like Ta-Negro Coates was a clear affirmative action hire. Yes, he has a great background based on his nonfiction work and his journalistic work, but that does not make him a comic book writer. A comic book writer is someone who understands the medium of comic books and the craft of comic book writing, because comic book writing is a craft just like screenwriting and novel writing, and you have to learn how the model works before you start writing stories in it. And when it comes down to comic books these days, Marvel's editors just don't understand that comic book writing is a craft, and that's why their comics are struggling to get sales and their characters are having such a hard time these days because the writers just don't understand the craft of comic book writing. Your Ta-Neshi Coates is not someone I would put on an A-list character right now. When it comes down to an A-list character like a Captain America as an editor and a character that is in desperate need of rehabilitation, I would go out and find a veteran writer to write this character and a veteran writer to lay out a plan to get this character back on track. Someone like Mark Waid, someone like Chris Claremont, someone like Roger Stern, someone like John Byrne, somebody with some skills that can pretty much get the attention of readers by their name being attached to this book, and someone who has an understanding of this character, the character's mission, the character's supporting cast, the character's rogues gallery, and the character's history. That's the person I would go out and hire to get this Captain America character back on track, because this is the person who readers are going to look to want to buy these adventures, because having an A-list writer attached to Captain America, one of the flagship characters at Marvel, that's something that's going to get people's attention. And if the first issue is strong, that's going to lead to people picking up this character. But no one's going to pick up a character from a writer who has proven with 3 series that they can't write a decent story. And from what I've seen of your Ta-Neshi Coates' Black Panther and his Black Panther and the Crew, he's clearly not qualified to write superhero comics. This guy is out of his depth. He's trying to make social and political commentary, not understanding that in the comic book medium, you have to make your commentary in between the lines of the story and in between the pages of the action. You cannot preach to people because people aren't going to buy that. People are buying superheroes for an escape. They want to see superheroes beating up the bad guys. They want to see superheroes saving the day. They want to see big, muscular guys and curvy women taking on bad guys, and they want that action, they want that adventure, and your Ta-Neshi Coates doesn't give you action and adventure. From what I saw in one of his Black Panther and the Crew books, he's got Black Panther and Storm going into Harlem talking about gentrification. I'm sorry, people don't buy comics to read that. They buy comics to see Black Panther going out here and taking on some criminals like a man ape having a drug ring or Killmonger having a ring of weapons. They go to see that. That's what they're going to read a Black Panther comic for. When they read a Captain America comic, they want to see Captain America taking on the Serpent Society. They want to see him taking on the Red Skull. That's what they're going to pay the money for. They're not paying money to see somebody make a commentary about how much they don't like Donald Trump being president of the United States. They can read that on any blog or they can watch that on any YouTube video. What they want from comic books is a way to get away from these types of controversies going on in current events or a commentary on it made in between the lines of it, but they really want to see good guys taking on bad guys, and we don't see that at Marvel Comics these days. I can't remember the last day when I actually saw a story focused on a hero fighting a villain. I mean, that seems like a foreign concept, and that's really disturbing when you think about that was the foundation of Marvel Comics. The foundation of Marvel Comics was good guys taking on bad guys. But we have yet to see many supervillains in a Marvel comic these days because many of the writers just don't know how to write a decent bad guy. And when it comes down to your Ta-Neshi Coates, he doesn't have the seasoning, the experience, or the skill set to take on an A-list character like a Captain America, because in order to get that seasoning and that skill set, you have to prove it based on you working on a lower tier character. And back in the day, when new writers entered the comic book publishing business, they had to prove their worth by working on B and C list characters. I remember when John Byrne was working on Iron Fist, the Champions, and working with lower tier characters before he graduated to X-Men at the time, which was another lower tier book, which they were trying to get back on track. But he had to work on lower tier books like Iron Fist, the Champions, Marvel Team Up, and other people had to work lower tier books as well. I mean, Jim Lee, when he started out, he was working on Alpha Flight, which was one of the lowest tiered books at Marvel, and then he graduated to X-Men. But when it comes down to Ta-Neshi Coates, they want to bring him up really fast, but he hasn't proven that he can get an audience on that level right now. I mean, if he's struggling with Black Panther, I shudder to think about what his run on Captain America would look like, because in order to take on the A-list characters, you have to master the B-list characters, and your Ta-Neshi Coates has not proven that he's ready to master the B-list characters. In order to master characters, you have to do your research, and from what it looks like now with this Ta-Neshi Coates, he didn't do his research on Black Panther, the history of Black Panther, and he didn't dig deep enough, and he's using that same approach on Captain America, where he's looking at this Brubaker and Epting run and not going all the way back to the definitive runs of the character, like the Mark Gruenwald run, which is essential for anyone who wants to read Captain America, or the Roger Stern, John Byrne run, or the Buscema run from the 70s, or the Jack Kirby run, which started out way back in the late 60s. In order to write a character, you have to read a character, and you have to read a lot of stories featuring that character. And once you read all the stories featuring that character, then you can gain a panoramic perspective of that character and have plot points that you can pick from to start your run, because in writing comics, you have to use the continuity as a tool towards writing your stories, and you can pick the plot points where you want to start your story at. And this is something I learned from reading Mark Gruenwald's run on Captain America, and that run went close to 100 issues, and it was one of the most definitive runs of Captain America, And if you're not talking about that run at all in writing Captain America, then you're not qualified to run Captain America at all. When it comes down to your Ta-Neshi coats, he's the wrong man for this title, and I have a feeling that Marvel is going to pretty much regret even thinking about putting him on this title if they go out here and hire him for the job. If you like what you see on this channel and you want to help me make more videos, you can donate to the Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to try some of my SJS Direct titles, such as the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, and the Temptation of John Haynes, you can do so by clicking the link to the Amazon.com in the description box, and it'll take you to all my books. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.